now, is the Rwanda plan actually working for the Tories? The Home Office said today that the first migrants identified for deportation had been detained. So we're actually looking at footage here, if you are watching us on the TV or online, being detained in preparation for flights to the East African nation. It comes after months of speculation as to whether Rishi Sunak's plan would ever get off the ground. So there was even more good news for Sunak this week, though, because immigration levels are officially falling. That's after the government's crackdown on foreign student visas, specifically then bringing the number of dependents over. Well, they have now actually fallen by 80%. That's according to Home Office stats, which is actually genuinely a win, because before people could take the absolute mick, couldn't they? They come over for a Mickey Mouse University degree and bring 4 of your relatives over. But does the fact that the only migrant to have actually reached Rwanda so far went because the government paid him $3,000 somewhat undermine Rishi Sunak's success? Joining me now is the Reform UK MP for Ashfield. It's Lee Anderson. Right, Lee, thank you very, very much. I will start with the Rwanda thing here. I mean, the Irish think it's a deterrent. Some of the migrants interviewed by a couple of news channels really regret coming here because of the threat of Rwanda, and we have actually sent one bloke there. It's working now.
Well, I mean, it's nonsense, Patrick, as you well know. I mean, when we was drafting the Rwanda Bill, nobody mentioned the Irish deterrent. Nobody mentioned the fact that once it was made an act of Parliament, that these illegal migrants would be scarpering over the border to the Republic of Ireland. So that's just absolute nonsense. It's one person, Patrick, that's gone to Rwanda. Bearing in mind, in that time, we've spent, billions on accommodation and legal fees for illegal migrants. We've given the French, hundreds of millions of pounds. We've had, I think, 4 different Home Secretaries. These people died in the Channel, and they still keep coming. Over 120,000 have dropped on our shores in the last 3 or 4 years, and we've sent one measly migrant back or over to Rwanda, and we're hailing this as a success. I think, I've got a lot of time for some of the staff in Number 10, but if they're spinning this as a good news message, then really they need to get out more, Patrick.
I think something that just is good news now, though, Lee, is the idea that 80% of student visa dependents have been cut. I mean, that, I think, is arguably a bigger win, right?
This is good news, Patrick, but let's be clear where this came from. When I was a Conservative Party Member of Parliament, this was the conversation that me and some to the right of the party were having with Home Secretaries for the past 3 or 4 years. This has not come from Number 10. This has come from pressure from the backbenchers on the right of the party. And, we've got to give some credit here to people like Suella Braverman, and Pretty and Robert Jenrick, who pushed for this behind the scenes. The PM and Number 10 didn't see legal migration, as a problem at all. In fact, they encouraged it. They thought it made us economically better off, and we know different.
Yeah, all right. I mean, it has happened, though, under Rishi Sunak. It has happened under James Cleverly. And so, I mean, really, there has to be an element of credit for that. I suppose they could have blocked it. And I dare say, Lee, it definitely wouldn't have happened under a Labour government.
It definitely wouldn't happen. It is good news. And, the sad thing is, if we get a Labour government this year, which is looking increasingly likely, they will probably claim credit for this, even though, they want open borders.
One thing, I'm just looking down here because I've got in my notes here a message I was sent earlier today, right? And I'm going to read this out now, which is apparently, Lee, you'll laugh at this, senior Labour figures, right, unnamed, say that the party may retain the Rwanda scheme if they come into government. So, I mean, that could be Keir Starmer's biggest U-turn.
Well, it'd be a massive U-turn. He said, constantly that the Rwanda plan was doomed to failure, that he would scrap it, he would reverse it. He's going to have a lot of trouble, though, Patrick, from his backbenchers, if he even thinks about, keeping the Rwanda plan in place. He'll have massive problems, from the John McDonnells and the Angela Rayner's and people like that. So it's another bandwagon, it's another U-turn. And, this man we said it before, he would do anything to get to Number 10.
OK. Lee, just before I move on to my next topic, I've got to ask you, if the government, rightly so, can point to student visas dropping, that being a massive slap in the face to a lot of people. They point to that at the time the next election comes, and they can point to the idea that they have actually flown people off to Rwanda who did come across the Channel, unlike this man that we've basically given £3,000 spending money to nip off back to Africa. If they can point to that, and it is shown to be a deterrent, Reform are bang in trouble, aren't they?
No, they're not, Patrick, because the country's made their mind up. We've had, and I was part of it for for 4 years. The country's definitely made its mind up. You know, time and time again in each election, they promised to control immigration, and it's only by pressure from some of the backbenchers of the Conservative Party, like myself and, you know, other people you have on your show, and Suella and Rob Jenrick, that this has actually happened. So I think it's a bit rich if, you know, if the PM starts claiming credit for this. But the voters out there in the real world, Patrick, they've made their mind up.
All right, now, look, former cricket ace Monty Panesar has announced that he's standing as an MP for George Galloway's The Workers' Party of Britain. Monty Panesar was working the media rounds this morning. Here's what he had to say on Times Radio.
I don't have a deep understanding of NATO. Like, this is what I said. It's like,
but what is it? But what is it?
Look, of my brief understanding of NATO, right? It's there to protect the European Union, isn't it? It's there to protect everyone in the European Union.
Well, it's got America in it. It's got America in it, though.
Yeah, I know it's got America in it.
It's not about the European Union in that sense.
Yeah, OK, not a great start. He also popped up on GB News as well.
This quiz, by the way, Stump the Panesar.
Stump the Panesar.
Okay.
Do you know the cost of a prescription in England?
I think it's about £15.
No.
£9.90.
Oh, okay.
What's the population of Ealing?
200,000.
366,000.
A living wage?
Average living wage.
Well, there's an agreed living wage. Is that right?
40,000.
No,
Per hour.
Per hour. It's nothing. You've got to go a bit lower than that.
Yeah. £15.
No.
11.44. So you got some work. You got some work to do.
All right, but look, hey, Lee, just before I come to you on this, I thought it was a bit mean, right? Because what did we expect from the guy who did this on Mastermind?
What is the title of the first volume of C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia to be published? Chronologically, it follows The Magician's Nephew. C.J. Lewis. The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of that. Lee, would you have him in reform, though? Because he's anti-net zero, isn't he? He apparently wants to bring migration down, and, I wonder if he does actually share some of the policies that you have.
I mean, some of the policies that he likes, he's encouraging, Patrick. But that's Monty Panesar, a great cricketer. But that clip you've just shown is more like Monty Python. I mean, it was hysterical. He was. It was a little bit unfair on him, asking him some questions there, which he obviously didn't know the answers to. And I think some of the reporters there were a little bit cruel to him. But he seems a nice guy. I think he's well intentioned, but maybe politics is not for him if he's coming out with ridiculous answers like that.
But maybe. But I do wonder if maybe he's in the wrong party, though, perhaps. If he doesn't really know about NATO, he's come out and said that he doesn't really know too much about Gaza. He leaves that stuff to George Galloway. I mean, would you throw reform's doors open to Monty?
I think we'd have to have a long chat before that happened. But we are a broad church, but you've got to know your onions in this game. You've got to know a little bit about everything. You've got to be a jack of all trades when you're involved in politics. Though it's probably a little bit naive of him. He probably needs to go away and do his own work. I'm sure if he did the work, put the hard yards in there, and he's a decent guy, and he'd be okay. But he needs to just be careful, doing the media rounds when he's not clued up.
I mean, there is the reason why I'm asking you this, as I'm sure you've clocked onto right now, is because you did put a tweet out. Welcome to the Reform Party, Monty. Loving your policies. Having said that, I mean, now we've obviously just shown you, some of Monty's greatest hits, as it were. You maybe want to reverse on that. How much of a threat do you think George Galloway is now? He's got people like Monty standing behind him. All right, how much of a threat is he?
Let me tell you about George Galloway, who I get on with reasonably well in the House. He not just a threat to political parties, Patrick. He's a threat to this country. I sometimes have the misfortune to sit between him and Mr. Corbyn, and I think, my word, what have I done here, being sat with these people, for me, in my humble opinion, are dangerous. George, bless his soul, he campaigned when he won the Rochdale by-election. I don't think he ever mentioned Rochdale once. All he campaigned on was a Gaza ticket. He's not interested in the people of Rochdale. He's interested in his own political ideology, which at the moment is Gaza, Gaza, Gaza.
Yeah, very finally with you, Lee. What does go through your mind when you see yourself sitting between Jeremy Corbyn and George Galloway?
I wish I was back down the pit on a 12-hour shift.
Lee Anderson there. Thank you very, very much. Take care, Lee. I'll see you in a bit. That is Lee Anderson there, the Reform MP for Ashfield.